There are so many heroes that played an important role in the establishment of the Jewish state. One of those heroes is Channah Senesh. Let me tell you about her. Shalom, my friends. This is the Akiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. Channah Senesh, an incredible woman, an incredible hero, buried in the National Military Cemetery on the outskirts of Jerusalem called Mount Herzl. Channah Senesh was born in the 1920s in Budapest to a very wealthy, affluent, secular Jewish family. She had a great life. She went to good schools. She didn't know too much about her Jewish identity, wasn't very connected. But then she started to experience anti-Semitism. And that inspired her to look more into her own identity, into her own roots. And that's when she discovered the Zionist movement. There was already decades in motion at the time. She was so inspired by what she discovered by the Zionist movement that after high school in 1939, she decided to leave and make Aliyah to move her life to Israel and to join the Zionists there in building a Jewish state, rebuilding the land, healing the land through physical labor. And that's exactly what she did. She went to a school for 2 years to learn how to farm in general, specifically in this land here, in the land of Israel. And then she moved to a kibbutz called Sdot Yam, just literally right on the shores of the Mediterranean city, down the road, literally from the ancient city of Caesarea. And she lived there and she worked there, contributing to the kibbutz, contributing to the redemption of the land of Israel. At the same time, she continued with her love, her passion, which was writing, and she would write poetry, beautiful poetry, just about being in the land and taking walks on the beach. In 1943, in the middle of World War II, there were many, many Jews, thousands, tens of thousands of Jews living in the British Mandate of Palestine, who wanted to help their fellow brothers and sisters in Europe. As the news slowly started to come in to the Jewish community in what would become the state of Israel, but at that time was still the Mandate of Palestine run by the British, as they heard more and more and learned more and more about what was happening to the Jews in Europe, they said, how can we sit here doing what we're doing when our Jewish brothers and sisters are being murdered? And they wanted to do something, and tens of thousands of Jews volunteered to go back to the lands they came from, to go back to the lands they left because of the horrors, because of the anti-Semitism. And they said, we have to do something. And overall, 30,000 Jews volunteered to take part in this. They worked side by side with the British Army to do all kinds of things to help specifically their Jewish brothers and sisters in Europe. Well, Channah Senesh was approached and she was asked to join the Palmach. And she was part of the Haganah already, which was a Jewish self-defense organization. She was asked to join the Palmach, which was like the elite force of the Haganah. And she was asked to train to become a paratrooper to literally, drop into Europe and to be part of an anti-Nazi force. Well, she trained and she tried out. And out of hundreds of people, she was chosen. There were only a few dozen people chosen, only a few women. She was one of them. And she was taken into this unit. They were dropped into Yugoslavia, made their way into Hungary, where she was from. And shortly after, she was caught by pro-Nazi Hungarian forces. And they beat her and they tortured her and they tried to get all kinds of secrets out of her, like the code to her transmitter, so they can find out more information about these paratroopers that came into the area. She wouldn't give up anything. For days and days and days, she was beaten terribly, horribly, knocking out many, many teeth, bruising her and injuring her like crazy. She didn't give up a single secret. And in the end, she was sentenced to death by these pro-Nazi Hungarian forces. And she was executed by a firing squad. They gave her something to cover her eyes with. She refused. She said, I want to look you in the eye, right, when you pull that trigger. And that's exactly what she did. Before that, when she was in the prison being held before execution, the inmates who were with her, who survived the war, told afterwards that she was a light. She was a ray of light in their world of darkness. She would tell them all kinds of stories about the Jews in the land of Israel, the Zionists being strong and redeeming the land and working the land and reviving Hebrew and doing all the things they needed to do to build the Jewish state once again in the land of Israel. There were these Jews in the prison with her who were so inspired. She taught them some Hebrew. She was an amazing ray of light in the world and for all the people around her. And after she died, her mother made sure that all those poems that she wrote over those years got out into the world, and they became classics in pre-state and, of course, post-state Israel. Right? And her poems are still read by Israeli children today, giving them much, not information, but also inspiration, a connection to the roots of this country and to the people who lived, and eventually some of them died for this country, to make sure that we did have a place in this world, right? And we had a strong place in this world, a place from which we can defend ourselves and once again be the Jewish people in the Jewish homeland. And for that, we thank so much to Channah Senesh.